What's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Weer, and this is my movie review for the movie X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I know what you're going to say. You're wearing a Superman shirt for an X-Men review? Well, I don't have an X-Men shirt. And my sister bought me this shirt. And she watches this show. Not that it's much of a show, it's more of just me talking to a camera for a few minutes. But you get the idea. And I like this shirt. I mean, it looks good with the white background. Which, by the way, again, love the white background, right? Okay, let's do the review. And so guys, Dark Phoenix is directed by Simon Kinberg, and it stars Michael Fassbender coming back as Magneto. It stars, well, so many people. James McAvoy coming back as Professor X. It stars Jennifer Lawrence coming back as Mystique. I mean, you get the idea. Like, they're all coming back because this is an X-Men movie. They all just come back once the new X-Men took over. So there's that. Okay, guys, really quick before I start this review, there's going to be some spoilers. I figure it's been out for a little bit of time, and it wasn't that good of a movie. So either you've seen it or you're like, pass, hard pass. So there's going to be some spoilers in this review. Okay, let's jump into the plot of this movie. Okay guys, in the plot of this movie, I said there were some spoilers because the trailers also gave a ton of stuff away for this movie that I was really disappointed in. Now, I'm not going to shit all over this review. It's not a great movie, but I'm not just going to talk shit. Like, this isn't a horrible movie. It's an okay superhero movie. Definitely ranks lower in the X-Men movies, and maybe I'll rank them at the end of this review. You'll have to just stick around to find out how I rank my X-Men movies, but okay. So the plot of this movie is this. The X-Men go to space because there's a problem in space. And while they're up there, Jean Grey gets infested with the Phoenix Force. And after that happens, she turns kind of evil. She starts doing stuff and like having incidences where she like blows up stuff accidentally. And again, this was in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler, but it might be a spoiler to you. She kills Mystique. That's right. Jean Grey kills Mystique. And really throws the timeline off when you think about it, but I guess Days of Future Past kind of rewrote time so they can play with it any way they want. And also, on top of that, I can't remember if you saw Mystique in the end credits, not end credits, but like the end scene of Days of Future Past. So if you did, then there's something wrong with the timeline, but if you didn't, then, you know, I guess it's okay. I mean, they just rewrote history with Days of Future Past, so you can do what you want. Which kind of sucks, though, because I really like Mystique. And I liked the idea of thinking that she was going to be in the X-Men for a long time. And then they just killed her in this, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like I said, I can't really hate them for it because they did rewrite time, and I know they brought Jean Grey and Scott back, and, you know, that's very important to me. So, that's cool. That's what's going on with the X-Men. At the same time, now that Jean is infested with this Phoenix Force, you've got this alien race that we've never heard of in the X-Men franchise before, and they are also trying to get the Phoenix Force. Unfortunately, though, they've just been tracking it. They haven't had a way to contain it. But now that they've got Jean Grey, who has contained the Phoenix Force due to her X-Men-like abilities, they want to just get her. But the problem is, they're like, we gotta trick her. So they have to like try to convince her that the world is out to get her and that she can make the world a better place, and then they're gonna use her for evil. And then the X-Men, on the other side of things, they're like, no, we're gonna get her back for good. That's the plot of this movie. Not very strong, incredibly weak, but we'll get to that. Let's get to things I like about this movie, and then we'll get to things I dislike about this movie. Well, the things I like, guys, are the acting. I mean, all around. You got Fassbender, you have McAvoy, you got Lawrence. You got so many good actors in this movie that, I mean, the acting is good. It's not like I watched this movie and I was like, ugh, they didn't even get the acting right. I mean, you have good actors, so when you have good actors, you have good acting in a movie, and they did a really good job. And maybe that's also direction from the director, so I gotta give props to Mr. Simon Kinberg for that, because the acting was really good in this movie. The other thing I'll say that I liked about this movie is the action scenes. I mean, it's a superhero movie. It's really difficult to hate superhero movie action scenes unless the CGI is bad. So like when Superman's face looks all screwed up in Justice League, yeah, I can fault Justice League for some of the action scenes. But there's some action scenes in that movie that are really cool, like Flash pushing the truck. I mean, you know, you get the idea. So there are some back and forth. As long as the CGI is good, it's pretty much a good action scene in a superhero movie, and so the action scenes in this are awesome. In fact, it has one of my favorite Magneto moments. Magneto, spoiler here, is my, spoiler for me, it's not really spoiler for the movie, just so you're aware, but spoiler for me, Magneto is my favorite comic book villain. I mean, he's just awesome. The ability to control metal is just really cool, and he can make a little plate of it, step on that plate, and then fly. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't know, I've always really liked Magneto a lot, so, you know, Magneto, man. He has a scene in this movie where he does something where he just crushes, you know what? He crushes a train. It's really cool. He just crushes a whole train car on this guy because the guy won't stop bothering him. It's awesome. I loved that moment. So I gotta say that the action in this movie is a highlight. And that gets me to things I disliked about this movie, and we're just going to go with the plot. I mean, it's weak. I mean, it's really weak. I feel like Fox didn't realize that Disney was going to buy them out, and then when they realized they were going to buy them out, they're like, ooh, we got to change this movie. And that's exactly what happened. Fox was making this movie probably into a two-part saga because it was the Dark Phoenix movie. You know, they were probably going to call it the Dark Phoenix Saga, and like they were going to make two movies is what it seems like, because the beginning and end of this movie feel like two different movies mashed together. And then I found out that they reshot the whole end of the movie because of the Disney buyout. So this is the last thing we get for the X-Men in the X-Men universe that isn't Disney, right? Before Disney bought out Fox. So this is the last Fox universe movie, I guess, that we get of the X-Men, and it just is weak. It falls flat. The ending of this movie ends with Magneto and Professor X playing chess. And I get the symbolism, I get like over the years they've always kind of had this chess game going, but it was weak, and that's the best way I can describe this movie. Which leads me to my rating, and instead of giving you guys a rating for this movie, because I mean I'm just going to say something silly, I'm going to rate the X-Men movies. Yeah, I said you had to stick around to the end of the video to find out if I was going to rate them, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to rate the X-Men movie, so here we go. Guys, with the rating process, I got to go X2, X-Men United. That is my favorite movie in the X-Men universe. There's so much mystery behind Wolverine's character. There's so much mystery behind the universe in general, and I really loved every part of that movie. Even Jean Grey sacrificing herself at the end was an excellent just lead up to that moment. I loved it. So X2, X-Men United is my favorite in the X-Men universe, which leads me to number 2, which would be Days of Future Past. Like, that movie was so good, and yes, I know they sent Wolverine back instead of Kitty Pryde, but let's be honest, we wanted to see more Hugh Jackman, and we got more Hugh Jackman. I loved it. I loved the Sentinel, especially the old school one. That was really cool. And that movie, I liked how it reset the timeline. It took all the bad from X3, and it was like, okay, we're going to give you all the bad taken away, and then we're going to ruin it in Dark Phoenix. But for now, you're going to love it. So, Days of Future Past, number 2. The third one's got to be X-Men First Class. That was cool because you saw the characters go from the first time, you saw them go from being kind of older and knowledgeable to just figuring out their powers. And that was really cool, especially Magneto's journey in that movie. Like I said earlier in this review, Magneto was my favorite villain, so seeing Magneto's journey in that movie was so good, and the movie in general is awesome. When he takes that coin, he puts it through that guy's head, that's just cool. So leads me to the fourth favorite X-Men movie of mine, and that would have to be Logan. And I know Logan is like a near perfect movie, but as far as X-Men movies go, it's not so much X-Men as it is just Logan's journey. So I am going to rank it over some of the other X-Men movies, but that's why I put it a little lower on my list, because it's not a true X-Men movie. I mean, it's called Logan. It's not called X-Men Logan, you know? So it's not like X-Men Origins Wolverine. Oof, that one's rough. Okay. Moving on to the next one. The next one, guys, is going to be X-Men Apocalypse. I really liked Apocalypse. I thought it was a fun movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it. It was rushed. I will agree it was rushed, but that's why it's the 5th on my list, and it's not the best movie. I get it. Next up on my list, guys, is X-Men, the original. I mean, some of the graphics weren't so great. Some of the fights weren't so great. They switched Sabretooth up later, and they had a better Sabretooth, just not in a great movie. But the point is, they could have done better with that. I don't know. For the time, X-Men was awesome, right? But now, in almost 2020, I mean, it's 2019, but you get the idea. So many years later, it's like, all right, I'm going to rank that a little lower than the other ones. Still a solid movie, though. And I love that part with Halle Berry, where she's like, you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else. A lot of people were upset with that line. I liked it. Which leads me to X-Men Origins Wolverine. We're scraping the very bottom of the barrel here. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Not a good movie, but it's got a lot of X-Men in it, so it's got more X-Men than Logan. It's the start of his journey. I liked it more than I liked with the Wolverine, where he loses his powers. Any superhero movie that decides it needs to take away the powers of the hero to show the hero's true strength kind of ranks lower for me, because I'd rather just see the hero with their powers. Same goes for Spider-Man 2. That's a whole nother video. Finally, guys, that leads me to X-Men X3. X-Men 3, they ruined a lot, right? I mean, X1 was so good, and X2 was so great, and then X3 was such a disappointment. It really was. That guy cutting off his wings at the beginning of the movie because he doesn't want to be an X-Men. I don't know. And then everybody loses their powers at the end. They'll get shot with that stuff. But then Magneto's like, I can move a little bit of a chess piece. There it is. And that leads me to Dark Phoenix. I don't think I left anything out, but if I did, I'm sure you'll let me in the comment section down below. Dark Phoenix was, It was average, but it was weak for an ending, so that's why it's got to be the end of my list. And guys, that's my movie review / rating of the X-Men universe. If you like this movie review, hit the like button. If you want to share this movie review with your friends, make sure you do that by hitting the share button. Guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that by hitting the subscribe button, because I have a lot of content coming your way, and I'd love for you guys to see it. And finally, if you have thoughts about the X-Men universe or my X-Men rating list, maybe you rate your X-Men movies a little differently, put that in the comment section down below. We can talk about it. That'd be really fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.